Hey guys, this is EFD, aka Dark Frozen Depths, back with another Kamihime PROJECT video. Sorry if my voice sounds a little bit out of it, because lately I've been feeling kinda exhausted. I guess maybe playing multiple games and all that's starting to catch up with me. But, yeah, I'm a little bit behind on some videos or whatnot, so a few playing videos have been delayed. And then on top of that, been trying to work on my own game too, while doing all this stuff, and really is starting to take its toll on me a little bit, but I'm still pushing forward. But anyways, we have another event that's coming up, which is the White Labyrinth, and I do believe this is already run before for us, so that said, it's a repeat. And I'm going to try and keep this a little bit short because of the fact that I just recently did a Labyrinth video that more or less explains what's going on. So that's got most of the info. And then on top of that too, there really isn't too much to aim for in this one, given how the weapons are, but you still should do it because of the fact that you get other stuff as well. Now, just a quick little recap. There are two difficulties to this, and Ultimate is a little bit harder than you would think. So anybody that's incapable of soloing Ultimate raids, or doing, I would say, at least accessory quests rank 6, anybody that's incapable of doing that probably does not want to go through Ultimate, because you will not be able to do all of it, because essentially one run of Ultimate is enough to deal with most, if not all, of the list in one shot. So if you are capable of clearing Ultimate in one go, then that's good to do. If you're capable of getting pretty far in it, I would say at least the 150th floor, maybe you should try to push for the 200th. Otherwise, you may want to stick to Standard, because you'll be able to run through Standard quite a bit. It's like just run through Ultimate and then just clean up with Standard. But anyways, it is enemies based on how far you get. So the only exception would happen to be the carbuncles, because they got a flat HP amount of 2000 regardless of difficulty, and they only show up on the boss and the mid-boss floors, which means if they're going to show up any floor, that's divisible by 5. So if it's a floor that ends in 5 or ends in 0, then there's a chance the carbuncle might show up instead of the boss or the mid-boss. Now, these are standard stats. I'm not going to go over them again, but all the 1-star stats are the same, except for the carbuncles, of course. All the 2-star stats are the same, and then all the 3-star stats are the same. The only exception would happen to be Skill Measurement Kun, of course, because he's not really meant to be defeated, but maybe you could. It depends. Now, for Ultimate, it's a same case, only much higher HP. And the main reason why I said soloing the Ultimate raids is recommended is because it'll get HP that high, essentially. So around like floor 20-ish or so, like floor 200-ish or so, it'll end up being like 20 million HP. So that's something to keep in mind. But there's all the HP stats for those as well. And again, Skill Measurement Kun does not change. You will face them every single floor after the 204 in Ultimate or after the 104 in Standard. So that's something to know. There's literally something called That's It for this floor, but it hits you so hard that you're not going to be able to withstand it without special circumstances, and even then you still may not beat them. But those of you that actually do try, you need to be able to auto revive every turn, or you're not killing him. And then on top of that too is the fact that it will take so long to drain down his 1 billion HP that you may end up with turn lag, so it will end up taking a long time between turns. So that's something to know. Now, the case of the stuff that we get, of course, go for the gacha tickets. Well, to be quite honest, you should be trying to get the entire list regardless, but if you don't feel like getting everything, get the jewels, get the gacha tickets, get the draconic eye shards. Basically get everything out of the rainbow chest except for the weapons, because the weapons aren't worth much of crap, if you ask me. They can help build towards some grids, but the weapons themselves are not that good, if at all. Now, other stuff you should probably get as special soul points because it's one of the few times to get them. Fangs are hard to come by, so I would suggest getting those. Because even though we gotten the Ultimate Plus and the Ragnarok for the Elemental Quest, which is also nicknamed SP by players, Fangs are still quite tedious to grind. It's gotten a little bit easier since Ultimate Plus and Ragnarok will guarantee Fang drops, but it's still the case of it's a long process to grind up your Fangs, so the more you can get from other sources, the better. Other than that, there's skill enhancement materials, which I actually need because I've just recently final broke a few weapons, some of them being gacha. There's gems, there's EXP spears, there's the normal soul points, a lot of stuff you may or may not need. Now, here's where I say the weapons are potentially crap. Now, the light bow. It is an assault, but puts defense up on the 4th Hime. While the axe happens to be the same thing, but puts enthusiasm, which I think is a burst gauge increase every single turn. And that's on the 3rd Hime. Now, in some weird cases, you may or may not use the axe. It is very niche because enthusiasm basically will give you burst gauge. So maybe for a few guild competitions it might come in handy. It depends on how far you really have to think outside the box for that one. But generally these are both ranged weapons, the axe and the bow, and they're easily skippable, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. However, that axe does have a lot of base attacks, so it's sort of got that going for it. So it's a big maybe if you put it with an axe grid, but I wouldn't worry about it too much. And the bow is easily skippable. I wouldn't worry about it at all. As far as it goes with the glaive, which is called special sword on this, that's the interesting case because while it does have a second skill that will turn from assault to strength, which ends up being assault and defender, it's not only small, but the other skill happens to be rush, which is horrible. Rush and barrage is highly viewed as the worst skills. And the thing about them is the fact that they're only good if they come with something else. However, this is still questionable on how good this weapon could be. Now, newer players will still want this regardless because you got a final break weapon that can end up boosting both your assault and your defender. But it's still a big maybe. Not to mention, it's one of the few free glaives you can get that doesn't spike the crap out of Exceed. And in my opinion, Exceed is very good until you start getting too much of it, because of the fact that you just want to be able to raise your burst cap to 2 million and just be able to hit that cap through other means. So the less slots that are clogged up by Exceed, I would say the better, unless it can't be helped in the case of some very good weapons. So in the case of Light, they can grind out an Exceed weapon that has assault and Exceed on it, and it's also glaive. So that's why I feel I need to mention this weapon. If there's any one weapon you're probably using out of these three, it is definitely the glaive. But even then, it's not all that good to me. At least in my opinion. It still depends on how strong your grid is, because if you have no SSR for Light, you're still going to want all three of these, at least to placehold things. But Light as a free-to-play player is actually kind of hard to build unless you want to play healer, in which case you have plenty of tools to play healer. But as for offensive builds for free-to-play Light, that is mostly past for the time being. And your only other thing will end up being hammers later on, which is good, but not good enough. So you would have to really depend on rapid fire bursting in order to do anything, which Light is good at, but basically Light has become one of the least free-to-play friendly elements in the game right now. Unfortunately, you still have to build it if you plan on doing some stuff like guild competitions, tower, and we do have a tower event right now, but it's more oriented towards fire characters. But guild competition, five different events that goes down, like 5 different things in the game. It's guild competition, tower, battlefield later on if you want to grind out the machine beasts or the lucent weapons, because that's going to be based on both weapon types that he may like and element. But it's like go level, so it's not as hard. There's still heroic, but that's optional as well. And then there's the Guardian Plus raids, which you probably should grind because it will allow you to get some very powerful stuff, mainly the final break limit at Dolans when they come out. But those are the things where you would probably have to build most, if not all, elements. So again, try to do your best with free-to-play Light if you're not one of the players that's been in the game for a while. But these weapons honestly aren't that good, so they're not the main focus of this Labyrinth, unfortunately. If you need them, go get them, but if not, you're easily going for a lot of this other stuff, which happens to be the magic jewels and the fangs and the gacha tickets and such. But anyways, that's all for this. Speaking of tower, there's going to be some tower videos, hopefully. Last time I couldn't put up any tower videos because of the fact that the recording screwed up for some reason. But I will try to put these up even if the recordings are messed up. So if they are messed up, but I can still upload them, you'll still see them. If I can't upload them, that's where you're not going to see the video. But I tend not to cover tower events and guides because of the fact that more or less you can just view it in game and it breaks it down for you enough to at least prepare for it. Now, the thing is, it doesn't exactly tell you how many orbs enemies have or how much HP. But also for me to break down the tower video would get exceedingly long because there's 20 floors and that means a lot of enemies to cover. That's why I don't go into detail with these because there's so many right here. So I'm not trying to make a video that could be like 10 to 20 minutes long, maybe 30, turn into triple the length. So that's why I don't cover tower videos, and that's what, well, I will show my teams going through tower, but I won't go into full details with all that type of stuff because in game you can get enough info in order to actually succeed on it. So that's something to know. And then worst case, a very, very valid strategy, if you know you're going up against a very hard floor, then just break out your most defensive Kamihime and try to tank it. It won't do favors for your turn limit, but it will help you out, at least when it comes to surviving. And that's a valid strategy for both tower and labyrinth, if you ask me. So that's something to consider. If you can't out damage, you can always try to outlast. But anyways, that's all for this. I don't think I'm going to put up a Labyrinth video because it's the same old stuff. I just send Medea to just completely wipe almost every floor on her own. And the floors where she doesn't wipe it on her own, she'll still make it possible to kill it in one turn. sometimes not even using the attack button. So I don't feel a need to post any more Labyrinth videos. I've done enough of that one. I will still do guides on them though. And like I said, Tower, if the recordings come up, then you'll be able to see them. But that's all for now. And one more thing I should mention too is that pretty soon we will be getting some changes to the game, as well as the 4th anniversary, I do believe. So hopefully they do something good for that. But as far as it goes with a few of the changes, the Dragonic Eye weapons that cost 50 eyes, they are very, very, very powerful. But you need to break limit them with items. You only get 1 copy, and that's it. They did not want people getting more than 1 copy so they can just break like 4 or 5 of them. So if you want to get those weapons, be sure to try and have some weapon break limit items for them, the SSR ones. Which means you should probably do this tower as best as you can. And any tower. And for people that do spend, you can also, of course, pay for more bricks if you want to. We've gotten way more brick deals than the Japanese version. But, between that and the fact that there's also going to be some changes when trying to get the 4th and 5th slots with Kamihime, there might be some balance changes. I don't remember if they do that. And I do believe, getting close to the point where they're about to introduce the heroic difficulty, which also will change some of the event layouts too. So something else to look forward to. But if anybody wants to take on heroic difficulty, remember 2 things. 1, it is optional. You do not have to complete it. It is just to challenge yourself. And 2, boy does it challenge yourself, because the recommended battle power is 75,000. But of course, you do need a strong weapon grade and whatnot too, where you need like tons of assault and defender and all that. So while the recommended battle power is about 75,000, you may get away with more or less depending on your weapon grid. But it will still make you feel like you got like 150,000, because you're definitely going to need at least 100% assault. I would say you would need close to 160% assault. So yeah, heroic's going to be quite a trip. And then the big thing about it is the fact that, like I said earlier, it's another reason why you might need to build all elements, because if you don't use element of advantage, you are going to be heavily handicapped, just like in guild competition. So, and eventually Guardian raids will do that too for Guardian Plus. So yeah, expect some new stuff to happen pretty soon. Honestly, if I look at this list, I do believe it's shown up somewhere around the time of I think somewhere around the time of this Ultra Nue. Yeah, Nue. So yeah, we are literally close to it. It's within the next few months. So keep that in mind. And other future events to look forward to is another guild competition on the way, I should mention. More labyrinths. They are going to start repeating the union events, which means you will get your chance at some exceed weapons from those. So there's quite a bit of stuff to look forward to. And I also have to point out, anybody pulling gacha, this year has a lot of limited Kamihime, so pick and choose your battles if you're a free player. Because while a lot of the limited characters are pretty powerful, they are not necessary. Some of them do indeed reshape the meta. I cannot deny that, but you still have to keep in mind, when it comes to the seasonal ones, they will come back. When it comes to the crossover ones, like the I don't know if we'll get it, but the Haruhi reprint, they will not come back. Or at least they are not guaranteed to come back. So, that said, pick and choose your battles when you're pulling. But anyways, that's all for now, guys. More of this will come soon, and take care.